What is going on, guys? It is the Anime Jaguar here, or you call me AJ for short if that is a tongueful for you. And with season 2 of High School the Musical, the series coming out on Disney Plus, I decided to rank every single season 1 episode because season 2 is coming out in 2 weeks. I decided, why not? Let's rank all 10 episodes of season 1, and who knows, I may rank all season 2 episodes eventually if you guys really like this one. But let me know your ranking of all 10 episodes or the ones you've seen, and let's just get started. Let's not waste any more.
Coming in at number 10.
Episode 3, The Wonder Studies. Much like the previous episode, The Wonder Studies features a new original song which is sung by EJ. The song is what he plans to use to apologize to Nini for taking her phone. His cousin Ashlyn tries to talk him out of it, but he manipulates her into helping him. While this could be some sort of a romantic gesture, the song itself isn't that good. Even though this series is mainly targeting a teen audience, the song they had itself doesn't fit the overall tone of the series. It's a much more generic boy band song that one would find in a film from the 90s. After having listened to Wondering in the previous episode, the song was a major letdown, and that's how it was for the rest of the episode. It was the worst episode of the entire series.
Number 9.
Episode 2, The Read-Through. And this confirmed what I thought in the first episode, and I still feel this way. This series will certainly appeal to the same type of tween audience that has already consumed everything else this behemoth of a franchise has offered thus far. As far as non-fans of the franchise are concerned, this new series will surely not convert anyone, but for fans of the series or tween audiences, this may be up your alley. And this is how I felt of the second episode. I thought the biggest problem of this series was that it was hard to care. I really didn't care for many of the characters. I really only cared for Ricky initially. And ultimately, I felt that this series lives or dies depending on your ability to get behind the 3 main characters. And unfortunately, I could only get behind Ricky for the first 2 episodes. It was simply tough to really care about anyone else, but eventually, luckily, I cared about everyone else. And all these actors clearly have some type of talent, no denying that, but they were kind of obnoxious at first, minus Ricky. But luckily, I kind of got to relate to them later on, and let's get to some better episodes.
Number 8.
Episode 8, The Tech Rehearsal. This was one of the later episodes. This is probably the worst episode of the second half of the series of the 10 episodes. This just wasn't a step in the right direction. I was almost tempted to quit watching because it was a step in the wrong direction. It was backwards. Each episode got better and better. It went back in the wrong direction, and it missed the same feel that all the other episodes had. But luckily, the episodes got better, and let's just get into some of the better episodes.
Number 7.
Episode 1, The Auditions. This episode is good because of its energy, and you can feel in the cast that they are enjoying making this. But the acting is not the best as you would expect, and for this series, it's okay, it's fine. But they at least have the merit to believe in what they're doing on screen. And the unnecessary drama, that's just a part of these type of shows too, so take that with a grain of salt. But the stakes get people kind of interested. It got me kind of invested at first. If the first episode doesn't get you invested, then you're not going to watch the rest of the show. And it was good enough for me to continue watching this show. And yeah, that was all I have to say about the first episode.
Number 6.
Episode 4, Blocking. Overall, I enjoyed the 4th episode of High School Musical, the musical, the series. Not only is this week's original song a huge improvement from last week's, but the show chose to include such a heavy topic as a major plot element. The stakes were elevated in this episode, with both Ricky and Nini needing to deal with major issues. I'm looking forward to seeing how all these developments affect the next episode. I was completely surprised that a Disney show would have divorce be the main element within its plot. There are many Disney anime movies in which either a parent or both parents are dead. There are also films in which what happened to the main character's parents is never explained.
Number 5.
Episode 5, Homecoming. So the dancing sequence at the beginning of the episode is one of the main highlights of the episode. It's probably one of the best dancing sequences in all of the series. And this is obviously about their homecoming dance at their school. Nene decides not to go to homecoming, and some people had a problem with how the episode was executed. I was fine with the episode. I think it was a solid episode. It had her flushing her dress down the toilet. People like, it's not that funny, but what do you expect from this type of series? It's just your typical teenage musical series. That's what did you expect? Some masterpiece TV series? No, I liked it fine. It was good for what it was. People were saying, how could they get past the first draft? And I have nothing against it. It was just fine. And I know it's not supposed to be realistic. I don't think any reasonable teenage girl would do that, but that's okay. My mini rant's over. Let's just move on to the next episode.
Number 4.
Episode 6. What team? So, Ricky got another solo. This is his second solo of the season. It was pretty good, and at this point, it was pretty much his show, and that stayed that way the whole time. And it was one of the main reasons why I watched up until that point. And the show this is when it really started coming to its own. It was capped off by a great original and organic musical number, and I was smiling at the end of the episode, which is one of the first episodes where I smiled at the very end. And Miss Jen was really starting to get better too. At first I was annoyed by her, but she's starting to become a little likable herself in her own way. And the show is going into new plots, and the character development overall, just in general, besides Ricky and Miss Jen, was starting to step up. It was about the halfway point, 60% through. And the song the students made for her is, at that point, was one of the best songs of the series. It was an original song too, not just one of the songs they stole from the High School Musical movie. So this was the best episode up until that point. But let's just get into the other episodes that were better. And yeah, let's go.
Number 3.
Episode 7, Thanksgiving. Overall, I enjoyed watching the 7th episode of the series. It continued to expand on how Ricky is handling his parents' divorce, which is something I never thought I'd see in a live-action TV Disney show. More information was revealed about Gina, which makes me empathize with her more than I did previously. Over the past few episodes, I began to care more about Gina. After learning more about her backstory, she's become one of my favorite characters in the entire show. Going into this show, I figured that she would just be like Sharpay, but Gina's character is much more down to earth. Judging the way her character was written in the first few episodes, it was way too fast, and it could be the reason why I'm more impressed now with their character development. The way her backstory plays out further in the episode ups the stakes in the entire series, which will certainly make for some interesting scenes.
Number 2.
Episode 9, Opening Night. The conclusion of this episode was quite solid. Ricky gives up the role of Troy not just because he sees his mom in the audience with her new boyfriend, but because he finds out that Nene is extremely nervous now that the dean is in the audience from the fancy performing arts school. His concern for her is so deeply felt in that moment, cementing the hope that later that they get back together, which they did get back together. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the TV show for some reason, and I would not recommend watching the very end, but you might as well since you're here if you haven't seen it. But overall, despite some concerns about the direction of a few character arcs and relationships, Opening Night is a swell episode, and it's the second best episode only to the part 2. So let's get to number 1.
Number 1.
Episode 10, Act 2. This was definitely the best episode. It was a satisfying ending to the series, and I was smiling from all the catchy songs and all that. It was good all-around episode, the best episode of the season, and it was a solid show for my expectations. People had way higher expectations, and if you had high expectations, you were more than likely disappointed with what you got. But I had middling expectations, so I got what I expected. It was a fun, innovative, and at times creative show. The show wraps up all the storylines of the season, and it even opens up for the next season, which is coming out very soon. I may even do a ranking on the season 2 episodes and maybe compare both seasons if you guys want me to do that. Some people didn't like how they couldn't settle on a style. They couldn't tell if it was supposed to be a comedy or a documentary or both. It was a little bit of both. I obviously wasn't good as what they were trying to go for. Like the previous High School Musical movies, the original ones, and The Office, they obviously wasn't going to be as good as those. But like I said, if you had high expectations, you were going to be disappointed. I knew coming in what to expect, and the main characters, the Troy and Gabrielle replacements, and her boyfriend, obviously not as good as the original, but Olivia Rodrigo and Joshua Bassett, they don't hurt the reputation of the show like some people, or not the show, the High School Musical brand as a whole. They're saying that it ruins the reputation of that, but I believe it will look back on this 10 years from now, and they may even try to do another High School Musical thing 10 years from now, who knows. We'll look back on it and people realize, oh, it wasn't really that bad. It was fine for what it was. And that's just the main message. Feels like I've been sound like a broken record, but I'm just saying, this is good for what it is. And we'll see what they do season 2. It may be better, it may be worse, it may be the same. We'll have to see.
Thank you guys for watching the video. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see another, whenever season 2 comes out, if you want to see another episode ranking, or if you want me to compare season 1 and 2 of High School Musical, the series. And I'll see you in my next video.